Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're having a good week. Am I alone in still not being convinced that the Tyson Fury Oleksandr Usyk fight will go ahead? Now, I've said many times before that, long ago did I pass the point where it's a case of whenever anything is concerned about Tyson Fury, wake me up when we get there. I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. I wouldn't trust the guy as far as I could sling him, and I couldn't pick him up, never mind sling him. But I just think that the jury's still out when it comes to this upcoming fight. Now, I want to be wrong, desperately. I want this fight to go ahead. And if it does go ahead and Fury wins, believe me now, I will praise him. Praise the Lord, Buona, praise the Lord Fury, But, I don't trust the guy. I just don't trust him. I don't trust anything that comes out of his mouth. If you look back at my videos previously, the ones before the eye injury, I was not convinced then that the fight was going to go ahead. And then the eye injury happened. The bad cut happened. I won't get into the whole self-inflicted, not self-inflicted. As you know, if you've watched my videos before, I hate the whole conspiracy theory mentality. Skepticism, yes. Cynicism and paranoia, no. That's always been my way of looking at things. But it didn't surprise me at all that the fight didn't go ahead. Not at all. And it wouldn't surprise me again if it doesn't go ahead. Now, let's look at a few reasons why let's look at the reasons why it would go ahead. Well, number one, Fury is being paid an absolute skipful of Saudi money. And yes, he's a multi-millionaire. He's made tens of millions in his career. Does he need the money? No, not really. Is he interested in money? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. No shame in that. It's called prize fighting. He's being paid this amount. There's apparently Turkey Al Sheikh said if you pull out of this fight, this applies to Usyk as well as Fury. It's a $10 million fine or £10 million fine. This apparently applies to Usyk as well. How it's enforced, I don't know. From a financial point of view, of course, it's extremely lucrative. The other thing is Tyson Fury's legacy is reliant on a victory over Usyk. No question about it. And Fury, for all his talk about not caring about legacy and so on, again, a complete and utter lie. He cares about legacy and then some. I've said in many videos before, and other people have said this, that he doesn't fear any individual person, but he, without question, fears losing, having a loss on his record. Why? Because it affects his legacy very, very badly. Now, it's got to the point where that zero in the loss column isn't enough, because people have twigged long ago what's been going on about ducking and diving and avoiding Usyk for God knows how many, well, it was a couple of years, 18 months, a couple of years, whatever time span you want to put on it. There's no doubt that Fury did duck Usyk. The evidence is overwhelming. The constant moving of goalposts. And the Fury fanboys say, well, Frank Warren asked Alex Krasuk, well, when did you ever make us an offer? Well, no, they didn't have to make an offer because they accepted the offer made by Fury's team. And even when the goalposts were moved repeatedly, Usyk's team still accepted the offer, like when it was originally 60-40. No, I want it 70-30. All right, I'll have that, And it was a constant changing of rules and demands on behalf of Fury, which indicates that he never really wanted it, at least not at that point. What he wanted was to sort of milk the WBC title, which, I mean, he hasn't made. The last time he made a mandatory was Dillian White. And I've done videos on that subject as well. A video for another time. A guy who was 2 fights previously knocked flat and came in as the deserved mandatory, and Fury flattened him. And that might just be Fury's last, decent performance. It is Fury. Well, he looked all right against Derek Chisora, but he had nothing to beat in Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora was shot to bits. And at the end of his career, he only had one fight after that, and looked all of his age and all of the miles on the clock. But if you go back to that mandatory, that was, I don't even, you tell me when it was. It was, 2 years ago now? More than 2 years, 2.5 years ago. WBC are completely in bed with Fury and his team and have not ordered a mandatory since then. So he's milking that title. And then he had the supposed gimme fight with Ngannou, and we know how that went. So he kind of, with his, skullduggery and all his disingenuous attitudes and all of the contradictory words that came out of his mouth and the constant contempt for the public with regard to fleecing them for as much money as possible. Hence you had was it £26, £27, whatever it was for that third Chisora farce. Fury is squeezing the rag dry in terms of finances, and he's insulting his own fan base, and they're too dim-witted to or most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are, most of them are probably too dim-witted to even realise it. So those are. But what happened was, of course, he painted himself into a corner and didn't realise, in a sense, how it would turn out. Now, the way it's turned out is that he has become the sort of bête noire, the antithesis of what he was after the third Wilder fight, which was, he was on top of the world for the third Wilder fight, because it was a brilliant fight. Neither man, there wasn't a lot of science flying around, neither man looked like a boxer of the year, but it was a fantastic fight, fantastic knockout. Fury came off the floor twice. And if you look at, it's actually, I think, one of the first videos I ever did. It was 2.5 years ago now, that fight. And yeah, I mean, brilliant fight. Fury, top of the world. He made a believer out of me, that's for sure. And then it's been a gradual, very visible dip because of all the sort of shenanigans that have gone on. So he's going to want to rectify that. He does care about his legacy. Without a shadow of doubt, he cares about it. He gives a damn. He wants to be loved. Right? He says he doesn't. This is why he's so jealous of Joshua, and always has been, because Joshua, for whatever reason, captured the mainstream media and the mainstream population's attention, and Fury didn't. He went over had that brilliant win against Klitschko in Germany, came back, talked a load of trash about all sorts of things, and was fairly or unfairly shoved into a certain box, and people objected to what he was saying, and then he had that the whole mental health thing and the obesity and the snorting the coke and drinking, and then he made that fantastic comeback and kind of reinvented himself. But he's now got to the point where he's almost as lightly or laughably thought of as he was in those sort of wilderness years. And he's going to want to rectify that, whether he admits it or not. So those are the reasons why the fight could go ahead. But some of those reasons that I've given are also reasons why the fight might not go ahead. Because, as I said, let's start with the fact that Fury does not want to lose a fight, ever. He wants to retire like Mayweather did, like, a couple of others, Ricardo Lopez, Kawasaki, Rocky Marciano, Sven Otka, dare I say. I always have a laugh about Sven Otka when we talk about people retiring undefeated because it's such a farce. But anyway. He wants to retire undefeated. And he knows, regardless of what he says about Usyk, he knows Usyk is a genuine threat. By far, his biggest threat in years, and quite possibly, in fact, I would say probably, his biggest threat ever. And people say, yes, but, Usyk's, again, he's dumber than concrete Fury fanboys say, Usyk's just a blown-up middleweight. Didn't you hear Tyson say so? All the Gareth A. Davises of the world. No, Usyk's a big man. He's 6'3". He's settled into the heavyweight division, gradually put on the weight. It's become what you might term his natural weight. He hasn't put too much weight on, so therefore he hasn't got too much strain and stress on his ligaments. For example, one of the reasons David Haye suffered so many injuries with, his shoulder was one. He had to have reconstructive surgery on his shoulder. His Achilles heel busted. He bulked up too much. He was carrying too much weight on a frame that wasn't built to carry it. With Usyk, it's been done far more scientifically. I think Usyk's probably a bigger man anyway. He's fought very big men in the amateurs and that WBSS or whatever the hell it's called. You know the one. I mean, that interim semi-amateur, semi-professional thing that they have. He stopped Joe Joyce. We beat up Joe Joyce. This was donkeys years ago. He's fought other massive men. Usyk's used to fighting big men and isn't that small himself. And yes, of course, Tyson Fury is bigger than him, much taller, bigger in natural weight. But when you're talking heavyweights, it doesn't, it's the difference is marginal. So long as you're not too small, so long as it's not like a Steve Cunningham, who, by the way, we know he floored Fury, but in the end, Fury just threw his tactics out the window and through sheer size went after Cunningham. I mean, it was just the size of the man. He sort of crushed him because he was just too damn big. That's not the case with Usyk. He won't be able to do that to Usyk. Not only is Usyk a much, much better fighter than Steve Cunningham ever was, and Steve Cunningham was pretty good, but he's got too much nous, he's got too much experience, and he's too much of a consummate pro. Now that's not to say Fury can't win. Of course he can win. He's perfectly capable of beating Usyk if he turns up at his optimum weight, mentally prepared with an excellent game plan and implements it. And when I say a game plan, I don't mean plan A. I mean A, B, C, D, E, and so on, like every fighter should have. If he fights at his best, and Usyk fights at his best, who's to say Fury won't win? But nevertheless, Usyk is a threat, a huge threat. And Fury does not want to lose that 0. And therefore, as we've seen in the past, he's reluctant to fight him. He's kind of, like I say, painted himself into the corner now where he kind of has to. But that might be a reason for him to say, do you know what? I'll cut my losses. I won't fight him. I'll retire. Or I'll make some excuse and I'll try and manoeuvre it somehow with my string puller, Frank Warren, and we'll try and navigate our way around Usyk and maybe go for the Joshua fight. He might consider Joshua to be an easier fighter, although he's a damn fool if he thinks it's an easy fight. I don't think he would think it was an easy fight, but he might well consider it easier than Usyk, as Usyk has twice beaten Joshua. Other reasons why he wouldn't go ahead with the fight, why he might pull out, he might genuinely recognise that there has been a visible dip in his body, in his physicality, his physiology. 2 million miles on the clock, too much abuse after all the years. He might not have the highest level of faith in his own ability anymore, because he may recognise that I just can't do what I need to do, what I want to do. I've kind of, in an attempt to almost age out Usyk, I've aged myself out. Could be that. That could come into it. Could be that he's just not that interested in boxing anymore. He's got 7 kids, for Christ's sake. I mean, and he and his missus aren't exactly old, are they? God knows how many more they're going to have. I mean, maybe they're aiming for a football team plus substitutes. I don't know. But he might think, I've got loads of money in the bank. It's Hagler's old comment about wearing silk pajamas. Do I need this? Do I really need this? I mean, I need it from a mental health point of view, maybe. But why do I have to actually fight? Why can't I just go to the gym and, work out? And, I mean, Mike Tyson has been retired for, I don't know what it is, 20 years since he quit against Kevin McBride, or whatever it is. I can't remember. And he still makes millions just off his name. Tyson Fury or any other elite fighter could still make a good living, whilst sitting in your palatial, environment with your 80 kids and your wife, or whatever it's going to be. He doesn't have to fight. And maybe he just thinks, I've done it. I've won every belt. If I beat Usyk, who's next? Joshua, then I beat Joshua, who's next? He might think, I just don't need this anymore. I just don't want it anymore. And that's kind of, that's in a sense, that's understandable. So anyway, all of this adds up to me thinking, I'm not convinced it will go ahead. I hope it does go ahead. I really hope the fight goes ahead. But will it? Would you put your house on it? Would you? Yeah. Would you stake, even a modest amount of money on it happening? Maybe you would. Maybe you would. Give me your reasons why you think this fight will or won't go ahead. Or are you just, in the middle? I don't know. I mean, ultimately, none of us know, do we, really? But let us know what you think. And of course, as always, comments below. And please subscribe to the channel if you're new. And also, hit the like button. I'm looking forward to getting your take on this. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Take care. Bye for now.